So this is the deal with SMCI. So yeah, Ernst Young was the auditing firm for SMCI. They resigned last week after raising concerns about the company's internal controls, board independence, and accounting practices. As we know, SMCI has delayed the filing of their 2024 financial statements and reportedly is under federal investigation for accounting malpractice. Details on that are kind of nebulous and forthcoming. But yeah, this is the quote that I was laughing at. Ernst Young stated that they are, quote, unwilling to be associated with SMCI's financial statements, which is hilarious. They are basically just saying these dudes are guilty as hell. Unwilling to be associated with the financial statements. We don't want any part of this. We don't want this stain that's about to happen on our record, says Ernst Young. So yeah, certainly a bad sign. I would say the worst sign that we've seen so far for SMCI. It seemed like they might be recovering out of the allegations and things had kind of gone quiet for a while there. But when your auditors throw their hands up in the air and say, we want no part of this, that's bad. That's a bad sign because they know what's going on. Lone Sofo's SMCI is a fraudulent company. Yeah, here. Well, that's thematic. I'll put it up here.
SMCI, quote, disagrees with EY's decision and is working diligently to select new auditors. No shit.
Yeah. So, but what I think that nobody is acknowledging in all this is this means SMCI's got no auditors at all right now.
Yeah.
So they could theoretically be shredding papers like crazy right now, or I suppose digitally shredding papers. However you want to go about that, because there is nobody looking over them at this point.
I mean, they delayed their report, right? And it's supposed to be next week now, I think. Yeah, I have it on the 4th of November, next Monday. I mean, yeah, they're going to be auditless for 2 weeks, auditorless for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been quite the week for chips as a whole, really. AMD obviously had the bad earnings and they're trading down today. Then on Monday, I discussed with Julia and Michael the Taiwan Semi situation. Taiwan Semi has their chips winding up in China where they're not supposed to be, and they're launching a whole investigation about that. So they're trading down. So yeah, it's been a busy and a rough week for chip stocks for sure. But yeah, I just know we got a lot of big SMCI fans out there. I had to throw this one out, and yeah, they are getting killed today. It'll be interesting to see when this ever finds a bottom. And I mean, to be fair, I don't I don't know that we're at the bottom yet, and I don't necessarily think that we should be either. I mean, yeah, I can't really say anymore. When your own auditors say they are unwilling to be associated with what the public is about to find out, that's no bueno. Yeah, you should want no part of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they ever do release their financial statements and what this investigation yields, and then what that in turn means for the company and the chip space as a whole, because this is a major player in the chip space. I don't know what happens. I don't know if everybody else moves down on sentiment. I don't know if everybody else moves up because now the business is going to get flushed to them. But SMCI, they're not really an AMD or an NVIDIA. They're in the middle of this whole supply chain. So it'd be very interesting to see how everything gets affected. But yeah, I mean, this is like we could be talking about Enron level shit here, depending on what this investigation yields. But if your auditors are running away from the burning building, that's a problem.
I just looked. So from the day that SMCI originally pushed their stuff back was August 20th or August 24th, to now they're down right at 53%.
Like to where they're at right now.
But to now down 54.35%. And that is including their brief rise when they had their 10-to-1 split.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like just largely today, though, right?
I mean, yes and no. When they originally announced their delay, they fell 25%.
Yeah, they fell a bunch then, but then they were kind of steadily recovering until
they recovered up 12% from the bottom there, so still down 13-14%, and then they fell another 23% on Wednesday, August 28th, kind of rebounded a little bit up to they're down 33% from the peak, and then now we're just going off the deep end.
Yeah. So yeah, my condolences to all the SMCI holders out there. Good luck. I think that XAI data center that supposedly got stood up in a few months was all SMCI equipment. Interesting. Yeah, and I don't know what happens to everybody who's operating on their equipment and now needs to support that infrastructure. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question that this company just goes away. I mean, that's sort of the level that I think that we're getting to here. Okay, Reddit. Here's the specific earnings numbers. They're up 40%, as I mentioned earlier. EPS, they were expecting a 7-cent per share loss, and they actually reported a 16-cent per share gain for a 320% beat, slightly more than 320%. I'm rounding. And revenue, they expected 313 million. Actual was 348 million for a strong 11% beat. I always have to laugh when the percentage beats on EPS and revenue are this far apart, because it's like, I mean, I say this every time. I understand that it's hard to calculate costs and how the profit is going to translate into earnings per share. But you're telling me that you were only $30 million off on their revenue and somehow were 300% off on what their EPS was going to be? Somebody overestimated the cost that Reddit has to incur to operate. I'm sure that if they went away, it would be them getting absorbed by some larger company, and then that company would just take over supporting people. Microsoft would happily step in and acquire SMCI for a steal, I'm sure, or similar. But yeah, Reddit revenue. Golly, those words like to combine in my brain. Up 68% year over year. Daily active users are up 47% year over year. And they also issued strong full year guidance, which caused a price target hike from $70 to $120. This is one of the quicker times I've ever seen a price target get chased down like this. Usually when a price target gets hiked, you'll see a jump, but it won't just move up to the new price target. And we're damn near there with Reddit, and which is great. I think it closed in the mid 70s yesterday.
That's What's the new price target? 70 to 120.
Yeah, it was at 115 before I hopped on stream.
Yeah, 113.28 right now.
Seems like an HP move. They'll absorb SMCI. Yeah, exactly. That's the line that I'm thinking along is they're like, yeah, you guys can't be a company anymore. What's the Norm Macdonald bit? Hey, you guys don't get to be a country no more on account of you keep going to war with the world. That's how I'm feeling about SMCI right now. I've said it before, I'll say it again. GLP-1 is pharma AI. You say GLP-1, you get a stock bump. It might be a bubble, who knows? But they're down 6%. They expected $1.45 per share. Actual report was $1.18 per share for a 19% miss. And revenue-wise, they expected $12.09 billion. Actual was $11.44 billion for a 5% miss. Zepbound and Mounjaro sales came in lower than expectations. Zepbound was $500 million short of revenue targets. Mounjaro was $660 million short of revenue targets. So yeah, just a rough look here for GLP-1s holistically. They also cited an inability to keep up with demand for GLP-1s as the reason for the shortfall. They just don't have the infrastructure to pump these things out quick enough. But they did say that as of right now, everybody should be able to get a prescription filled. So that's what we got going on that front. This is how much they missed their targets by. I was surprised to see this as well. Like I said, this is the most hype thing in the pharmaceutical space right now. Every time new GLP-1s roll out or companies are allowed to start making their own versions of other GLP-1s, it always causes this massive stock price bump. And I think that analysts just got a little too carried away with what they thought the extent of these GLP-1s would be. It's still a fairly new concept. Pricing these things in is all a bit difficult. So I'm sure that price targets will be properly adjusted for the next earnings call. Perhaps pharma isn't doing as well on these GLP-1s as we really think. Like I said, tough to price in the gravity of these things.
Apologies for my absence.
GLP-1s are the weight loss drugs. Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, Mounjaro, they're all weight loss drugs. It stands for glutapeptide, something like that. I don't know the exact medical expansion of the word, But yeah, GLP-1s are the injectable weight loss drugs that you get with the injector pen. Everybody now has their own version of these two drugs, and they're all competing with the same suppliers, and prices are high. So it's just a fickle thing. I'm sure a year from now it will all adjust. These things will be available borderline over the counter, and it won't be a big deal. But as it stands right now, just hard to keep up with the demand. Also, I saw Smoothie King is rolling out a GLP-1 menu. I don't know if you saw that, Chase. Yeah, their Smoothie King is going to roll out a menu that is specifically for people using GLP-1s, because you have to make diet adjustments. You have to be careful with your sugar intake and stuff.
Yeah.
You could fuck up your insulin. So yeah, Smoothie King is becoming the first restaurant. Are they a restaurant? Or are they a drink place? I don't know. Smoothies are kind of nebulous. I could read a thesis, but they become the first restaurant to offer a GLP-1 specific menu.